Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning meeting. I'd like to ask everyone to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner: posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office, emailed to the retrospect and the courier post. Do we have roll call, please, Ms. Pinto?
Chairwoman Kleehammer?
Yes.
Mr. Aukerly?
Here.
Ms. Gushin? Mr. Wachowski?
Here.
Mr. Vanella?
Here.
Mr. Laverty is not here. Mayor Kapadas?
Here.
Mr. Ranieri?
He's excused.
Excused. Mr. White?
Here.
Ms. Dodds?
Here.
Mr. Rowan?
Here.
And it's Mr. Brian Cleary
Here.
and Mr. Knight.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Owen, at this point in time, in the absence of Ms. Gushin, I'd like to seek Mrs. Dodd in her position.
That'll be so noted. And Mr. White is he going to?
Mr. White is now in Mr. Stone's position because Mr. Stone...
Okay, all right. Because I thought he was,
Yep.
but he's not at all.
Correct. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the November 15th meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes? Is there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
Mr. Vanella and Mr. Wachowski, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Old business, we have a resolution 1820. Mr. Rohan.
Yes, this was Tapestry, Runnemede LLC, 109 East 9th Avenue, Block 135, Lot 32, which site lies within the Special Economic District. We heard this application, and this is a resolution memorializing the preliminary and final site plan approval with variances and waivers. This is the conversion of the old, I believe it's Holiday Inn, into a senior citizen living.
All right. Is there any questions on the resolution? Is there a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution as read?
Make a motion to adopt the resolution as read.
Mr. Oxley and second Mr. Wachowski, roll call, please.
Mrs. Kleehammer?
Yes.
Mr. Gushin? Excuse me. What are we just substituted Ms. Dodds for Ms. Gushin, so what are we doing now?
Well, does Ms. Dawes now take Mr. Laverty's spot at this point, or is that?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Make it simple.
Okay, Ms. Gushin? Yes. Mr. Vanella?
Yes.
Mr. Wachowski?
Abstain.
Mr. Aukerly?
Yes.
And Mayor Kapadas?
Yes.
And Ms. Dodds?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Under new business, we have application 1813. This is a use variance, so Mayor Kapadas will be stepping down for this
Let's sit in
application.
the audience this time.
Okay. Okay, so Christopher Stanch,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
You don't mind if I say this, because I'm going to talk to Mr. Meyer.
If I could. Hey, very good to see you. Good.
Hi.
Hi, Madam Chairman. May it please the board, I'm Andrew Viola, law firm Albano Viola. Here I'm representing Christopher Stanch. This is our application for a minor subdivision. It's basically a lot line adjustment. It involves Runnemede Heating and Supply, which is 39 North Blackhorse Pike, owned by Mr. Stanch Sr., who since relocated to Texas. He dedicated a certain portion of this property to his son years ago, but and that property is 20 West 1st Street. But as it stands right now, it's 20 West 1st Street and a little strip of property that basically creates a flag lot that's just for the driveway. And the purpose of the lot line adjustment is just to move it so that the property is squared off. Right, as it stands right now, it's a little bit goofy, and we're hoping that the board will permit us to just move the lot line so that it's a property is a normal lot and squared off. The use variance comes in because Runnemede Heating is a commercial property, and of course, 20 West First is a residential, so it doesn't really implicate the use, but we did have to make that application. My client's going to testify to the basics, but there's not a lot to it. I will say this as far as meeting the statutory standards. This is actually improving the zone plan. We want to discourage flag lots. The property is already being used for the purpose as it is right now. We're not changing anything. We're not seeking bulk variances. It's basically a lot line adjustment, and you know, given the nature of the shape of the lot, it seems like it's an appropriate justification.
Andrew, is the applicant going to give testimony tonight?
Yes.
Or, actually, you know, I'm going to swear you want to speak to anybody. Just, gentlemen, if you raise your right hand, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give this board tonight is truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge. Okay, thank you. Andrew, do you have a bigger hand?
Yeah, we just did.
I just want to see really what's going on.
We did, yeah.
Is this what you're proposing, the new lot?
Yes, exactly. The new, okay, the existing, this is going to end right at the proposed lot line, new lot line is right
Oh,
here.
okay, so where?
So right here. As it is, it's just this, so we're squaring it off here.
Oh, so this is coming off of this line?
Correct.
All right.
That's it.
And this entire lot, lot one and lot 2.02, that's in a commercial zone right now, but this is a residential use?
That's correct.
Okay.
No, actually, I think, no, the 2.02, I believe, is in the residential.
Is the residential?
That's right.
Okay.
So that parcel that we're dedicating should
called
be
commercial.
Right, it's called commercial right now, because it's part of Runnemede Heating's lot, but it should, looking at it ostensibly, it should be residential.
Did we get a, I'm wondering, that George is, your dad, Chris?
Yes,
Did he sign an authorization?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
We did supply that.
All right.
I didn't get it. If you want to make that a condition
As
of
long as you
approval,
represent
yeah.
that, you know, it would be a condition. As long- I just didn't have it. Are you going to be doing this by deed, Andrew, or
Yes.
Buckland?
By deed.
Okay, the report.
Yeah, I'll prepare the new deeds, get them approved by the board.
Madam Chairman, if the board has any other questions, just reviewing a couple of the notes that John had in his.
Well, at this point in time, we can defer to Brian. Brian, did you have anything on John's review that you wanted to go over with us?
No, we have no real issues with the plan that's submitted.
And there are no bulk variances that we need, Brian?
Proposed, no, there's an existing front yard setback for the commercial use, but it's existing,
Okay.
it's not being affected by the lot line adjustment.
Yes, I pretty valid. Did any of the board members have any questions for professionals? Andrew, do you want to have any further testimony?
I'd be glad to. I mean, it doesn't seem like it might contribute. I think the court will rely upon my basis for statutory factors. We would just rest with that. I don't think there's not much more to it. Dad wants to give his son a little bit more property so he can square off.
Beautiful
his line.
thing.
That's about it.
All right, at this point in time, we're going to open up the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this matter and this matter only, please come forward, state your name and address, and be heard.
Seeing that open come from the public, I make a motion to close the public portion. Second.
Motion is made and seconded to close the public portion. All in favor? Okay. All right, Mr. Rowan?
Yes, this applicant comes before the board tonight, and they're asking for a minor subdivision based on a subdivision plan prepared by Benell Land Surveyors, Inc. And the date, help me out, Andrew, what's that, 6/11/2018?
That sounds right.
It appears the applicant has made has recognized all the statutory criteria in such minor subdivisions, and generally they are automatically approved. The only thing that you're going to vote on also, since we're giving, part of the subdivision is taking part of commercial property and adding it to the residential, we have to vote that the residential use can continue, which is really a combination of commercial. Now, the lot's going to consist of commercial property and residential. Doesn't look like there's any other bulk variances that need to be addressed. The only thing I would condition this, I take Andrew's representation that Dad did sign the owner's consent, but that would just be a condition.
Okay. We need a motion on the floor for this application.
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Vanella and a second by Mr. Ockley to vote in favor of this application. We have roll call, please.
Mrs. Klehanna?
Yes.
Ms. Gushen? Yes. Mr. Vanella?
Yes.
Mr. Pachowski?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Offerly?
Yes.
And Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Okay. Good luck,
Thank you
Andrew.
very much.
Have a good Christmas, guys.
Oh, of course.
All right.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Come up, we say hi, Andrew. Okay, next application we have is application 18-06. This application is the site plan for a PSE&G substation. I just want to say one thing to preface this application. There's some, I've been doing this a long time, and there's a few moments that really make you happy and proud that you do this stuff. And what transpired the past couple of weeks is just a shining example of how local government and county government and applicants can get together and do a real positive thing for the community. You don't always get to see something like this come to fruition, and I'm very happy the way things turned out. So with that, come on up. Welcome back.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, my name is Tom Schroeder. I'm an attorney from the Keys, Shanahan, and Giacomasi here on behalf of the applicants. When last we were here, we had presented our application, closed public portion, and then there was a decision to adjourn the meeting to allow an opportunity for the applicant, as well as the borough, as well as the county, to meet and discuss the potential of installing a sidewalk along the road, which was a subject of some concern and consideration. Pleased to report, and I think as everybody knows, and is reflected in a letter which I believe has been circulated to the board, which includes minutes that were prepared by the applicant from the meeting on Thursday, November 29th. There was a meeting involving the county, representatives of the borough, including the mayor, as well as Steve Bach was in the audience, and representatives of the applicant. And overall, there was a discussion and a plan proposed whereby sidewalk will be installed, and it involves a little bit of contribution from everybody. The layout for the new sidewalk was discussed to basically have the applicant install a fence for safety, to actually install the sidewalk, the guide rail, and there's a curb with some alterations that will be done by the county, and then the borough will fund some associated inlet work. So that's all anticipated to take place, I believe, further into 2019. There's an issue in terms of the county not being able to proceed or make any alterations that would have previously submitted as part of the federal funding.
Well, they awarded the contract or something.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, what PSE&G, the applicant, would propose is to agree that it will undertake the work discussed installing the fence and the sidewalk concurrently with the work to be undertaken by the county, along with some work to be undertaken by the borough, and make that a condition of the application that's before this board for preliminary and final site plan approval to upgrade and expand the existing substation. The only caveat to the condition, and we can work out the specific language with the board's attorney subsequent to tonight if the board is inclined to vote in favor of the application, is that because of the delay in the timeline in terms of when that sidewalk work would be undertaken concurrently with the county, that it be understood that the condition is not a resolution of compliance issue that would forestall the ability for the applicant to undertake the work. In other words, building permits to be issued and closed out and any other approvals to be issued in the interim. But again, it being a condition that runs that the applicant will perform the work.
Tom, are you gonna have anybody testify tonight? I would at least maybe like somebody from PSE&G, because I'm gonna put on the record, Mr. Bach's letter of December 12th will identify that so that at least they can say that they read it and they're agreeing to it and they're agreeing that it can be a condition. But
If that can be done, I can make a representation. Certainly,
okay, as long as you get it,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can. Steve, I'm gonna swear you in just so you can identify this for the record. And Ms. Bach, will you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this board tonight is truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Steve, I want to show you what purports to be a letter dated December 12, 2018. And is this which we can mark as applicants, or which we can, Borough's Exhibit number 1. And can you identify this document?
Yes, it's a December 12, 2018 correspondence prepared by Mark Basher of my office.
And did the applicant and or their attorney have ample, do you feel had ample time to review this?
Yes, we
Understand?
circulated the draft earlier in the week. We received no comments back, and we were permitted to issue this correspondence as well as permission to include their actual meeting minutes that were taken during the meeting with the county.
And you understand that the applicant is requesting that although this can be a condition as to the resolution, it's not a condition as to them pulling permits and allowing them to get their work done.
We would have no objection to them proceeding with their site improvements, building permits, and even closing out the site improvements and building permits. With understanding that this work most likely will happen summer, fall of 19.
Okay. And Tom, you've reviewed this, or PSE&G has reviewed this document?
That's correct.
And this sets forth your agreement with the borough and the county?
That's
Okay.
right.
All right. And your client is willing to accept this as a condition to the approval, but not is mandatory before your folks can pull permits?
That's correct.
Okay, is there any other questions from the board or Tom or Steve or any of our professionals? Does anyone need a clarification on exactly what's going to happen? I mean, I read the letter, I read the minutes.
No, everything's good, just
Yeah.
that we're not, he can start when he's ready
Right,
to, we're
right.
worried about the sidewalk.
Right. And basically, just for a quick synopsis, the minutes of the meeting are that they're going to, instead of trying to build on top of a dangerous area to build on top of, and a difficult area to build on top of, the county's doing some work, so they're going to bump out and they're going to be able to build the sidewalk out further, and then they'll still have enough for the road to go through. They're still going to have enough for the sidewalk. The sidewalk's going to be between 4 and 5 feet wide, depending. PSE&G is going to provide the sidewalk, and they're going to provide the fencing. The county is going to pay for the guardrail, I believe, Steve?
Yes.
And then we're going to pay for some inlet work, and it's a really nice cooperation between all three entities.
Yes.
Mr. Bach, go ahead, please.
And just want to point out that there's some curb work that was also agreed to, which is in the memorandum, which is also part of the plan, and appropriate transitions are to be done for where it's being bumped down into the roadway, which is extra wide in that area.
Right.
We have plenty of room to maintain carways. It's county road, they're signing off on everything, but the transitions on the curbs leading to and away from the bumped out area will comply with the ASHTO standards, which is the traffic standards, and the county will be the ultimate arbiter and approving entity of these improvements. So it's going to be all the requirements.
What size fence?
Just 4 foot high, black line.
So guardrail, fence, sign.
Yes. Yes.
Guardrail, sidewalks. Guardrail, sidewalks.
The fence is beyond that.
Yeah.
So just
Fence.
guardrails. So there's no.
Guardrail, sidewalk,
It's on the other
fence.
side of where.
The fence is on the ravine or the
Gotcha,
right side.
okay.
Again, just a pedestrian guard, so no one falls into the ravine.
And that's tall, it's 4.
It's actually 4 feet is a guard height. So it's actually as low as 42 inches, 4 feet, 48 inches is more than ample.
But if they jump that fence, it's like 20, 30 feet down.
If they jump the fence, they jump.
No, I'm just trying to be smart, but I'm thinking, you know, it seems to me it's awful low, the fence.
There's nothing there now.
No, but you can't walk there.
The guardrail, just let everybody know, the county was doing the guardrail anyway.
So that means code or whatever?
Yes, 42 inches is actually the guard, every guard 48 is fine, and that is typical. And the county is going to be modifying they had plans to do the guide rail.
Guardrail, yes.
Not guardrail, guide rail, we're not allowed to say guardrail anymore. And they're going to be modifying their proposed improvements to accommodate everything that's
Did anyone have any other questions for the professionals? All right, at this point in time, we're going to open up the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this applicant only, please come forward and state your name and address and be heard.
Motion to close public portion.
Motion by Mr. Ockley and seconded by Mr. Pachowski. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion to close the public portion. All right, Mr. Rowan.
Yes, just one more point I wanted to ask Tom. Tom, at the last meeting, we, I believe, PSE&G agreed to provide easements for sanitary sewer to run the lines across the property by the borough. Potential.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it was a far end or something.
Yeah.
And, yeah, the location was to be determined in the future.
The borough agrees to allow PSEG to connect to that sewer.
This is an application for what's essentially a preliminary and final approval of an amended site plan. Your board is going to be voting to approve the plans as submitted with certain conditions that the applicant is going to comply with the agreement set forth in the memorandum dated 12/12/2018, prepared by Bach Associates, and conditioned upon the applicant agrees to provide easements for sanitary sewer and a location which will be determined in the future. Tom is going to confer with me to put language in the resolution to make sure we know that the complying with the terms of the memorandum is a condition, but will not prohibit you from pulling permits. If there's certain language you want me to use, it can be.
We'll figure it out. Pulling permits.
You're also voting on some variances and waivers. The applicant is proposing to install an 8-foot high fence where our ordinance limits such fences to 6 feet, and also to permit that barbed wire be installed on top of those fences. As I recall, there was testimony before, because of the nature of these improvements or the nature of any electrical area, such fences and the barbed wire are really a required deterrent to make sure people don't go over there and sabotage it or get hurt where they shouldn't be. So you're going to be voting to approve that. There's also some checklist waivers that you're going to be voting on. They were really, I don't want to characterize them as design waivers, but waivers as far as the applicant's not going to have to locate high points, rock croppings, depressions, ponds, etc. on their
Trees.
And they're noted on John's review letter, which I will note in the resolution, those waivers that we did.
You did remind me of something. There was some concern of some of the residents on Cali Court about site and things like that. Was that any kind of solution come up with that? I know that's difficult because you had deciduous trees that drop the leaves. Was there any thought of what you guys are going to do about that at all? Does anybody have any comment?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we have reached out to, we had our regional outreach, actually Kendall reached out to them, discussed with them, discussed some of their concerns, particularly with the down and up lighting We explained to them that the new lighting is not the globe style lighting that's there now, it's actual directional lighting. So that should address the concerns that she has, and I believe, Kendall, you reached out to her and didn't get any further comments. Is that correct?
We spoke once, but when I did the follow-up, I never got in contact.
As for purposes of the record, that was Joe Graff. Joe Graff from, he's already been sworn.
And you swear what you just said, Joe, is truth or an act?
Should we just have the spelling?
Graff, G-R-A-F.
But there was no thoughts about doing any plantings or anything like that? That wasn't really
No, and as we discussed
realistic?
during the last time, because of the proximity of wetlands to the substation fences.
Yeah, you didn't have a lot of
that we
room.
can do out there. As far as removing trees or putting in new trees, we'll do what we can do.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so just need a new motion.
Okay, we need a motion on the floor to approve application 18-06.
Need a motion. Second.
Mr. Vanella, seconded by Mr. Ockley. Roll call, please.
Chairwoman Cleaver?
Yes.
Ms. Fusion?
Yes.
Ms. Pacheski?
Yes.
Mr. Vanella?
Yes.
Mr. Oakley?
Yes.
Mayor Kapadas?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Ms. Dodds? Yes.
All right, fellas. Good
Thank you,
luck.
everyone.
Thank you again.
You might just write that down. Oh, thank you very much.
If I could just get the cards, and I don't need the cards, but just, all right, if you don't have a card, that's okay.
Okay, at this point in time,
That's fine, thank you, I appreciate it.
we just have a couple of small things. I know Mr. Knight, is everyone's aware, we've had a gentleman who's been looking for different opportunities in town, and Keith, Mike spoke to you when last night. I got an email today from the attorney, but did you visit the site with him at all?
No.
Okay. Okay, there's a gentleman that's looking to hopefully move into the gym, which is in the motor vehicle, called Powerhouse Gym. It's a vacant area, vacant property now. It used to be Mega Sports Center, if I'm not mistaken. And it was successful many years ago in being a sports facility. And he wants to try to reinvent that and fill that empty building. So he's interested in that. And Nick, what about the gentleman with the diner? Spoke to him lately.
I don't believe there was any other additional comments at
I
this.
haven't heard anything back yet. As of the third week of November, they were still pursuing.
Okay, good.
I will say I did get I did speak to Mr. Jeffries about the Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes.
Some of the concerns that the other tenants in the property had.
Yes.
I think that they reached out to that tenant and explained to them exactly the layout, how the curbing was going on, and that they wouldn't be just stepping out into the traffic, they would be stepping out into a 7-foot-6 worth of sidewalk and curb, so that would protect anybody coming out of that room. The driveway and the back doors of the properties, there was a concern that they walk right out. Well, the landlord should have made it clear by design. So I think they did a better job of explaining it to the tenants. There's a trash enclosure being built as we speak. If you go by it, the trash enclosure is going on.
So they have access to all that?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, I reached out to Teal. As soon as I got the information from Joyce, I immediately reached out to Teal because in my opinion, that's a tenant, landlord concern.
Right.
We can't come back in here and change anything. I mean, there were, everything was addressed at the point in time of the site plan for the parkway that he was asking about as far as, deliveries and whatnot. So that was all addressed at site plan. So I believe Teal and the landlord got together with their tenant and, or else.
Explain a little better.
Yeah, because he was going to be here this evening, if not. So hopefully Teal and the landlord took care of that.
And then the only reason I can bring that up also is because Teal actually mentioned to me that there was some interest in our redevelopment thought that we are hopefully going to move on in beginning of next year. So as I explained to everybody who's interested in Black versus White, that we're looking to expand our commercial zone as an overlay to allow for the expansion of commercial zones where it's not a commercial zone. So there was some interest. So it's a good sign that there's some movement going on. you know, there's some negative stuff happening also, but there's also positive stuff, so I don't want to get into the negative. But,
It's Christmas.
Any word on when the Miles going to have the grand opening?
I do not know. I do not know.
They gotta fix their sign first.
Well, make some money.
All right, at this point in time, we'll have to make this the good and welfare portion of the meeting. Anyone wishing to speak on any matter whatsoever, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and be heard.
See no one, make a motion to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Kapaz, second by Mr. Ockley, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone have anything else you want to go over?
When are we going to do the mailings and the redevelopment meeting, the public meeting? Do we have a set agenda for that? Is that
After the reorganization.
after reorganization? So it's
Yeah.
February meeting?
You don't want it to span 2 different board years, so we have to actually wait until.
So reorganization, and then we'll send out the letters in
Just make
February.
sure it's
to the public.
consistent members. when you go through the process.
So is February the public hearing?
I'm going to work that out with Joyce.
We'll talk
So you
about
know
it.
that.
Is that okay with everybody else? Sure. Keep kicking the can, I want to get it done.
Budget, we have the budget for the postage.
Oh, you stop. Take it out of, what did I say, salary and wage?
There you go.
Police salary and wage. We'll take it out. Is that on the record?
You should say my salary.
Yeah, I usually say Joyce's salary.
Take it out of your salary.
Well, no one has anything else this evening. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Ockley, Mr. Johnson, all in favor? All right. Meeting adjourned, 7:32.